Gender-based activists across the world will from this Friday, the 25th of November 2022, rally across the world to begin a 60 days activism against gender-based violence. They intend to raise their voice against the multiplicity of physical, emotional, and psychological violence against women and girls. They say, mainstreaming gender-based violence will go a long way to give women and girls an opportunity to have equality and equity in the world. Now, the 60 days activism since created have been making some landmark achievements, but yet there are challenges as women and girls continue to undergo physical, psychological, and emotional violence from their male counterpart. What can be done to counter gender-based violence in the society, a society that has been a patriarchal one, with men giving so much advantage over the women folk? That is our focus tonight. Good evening and thanks for joining us on Mountain Echoes. My name is Yannick Fonke, and tonight we would be talking about countering gender-based violence, activating 60 days activism. My guests on tonight are gender-based experts who have been raising their voice against issues linked to physical, psychological, and violence against women and girls. Thank you very much for joining us once again. Right, like I told you, I have some guests in the studio, 3 women, very strong women and advocates against gender-based violence. I have in the studio Dr. Fokum Violet. She is the executive director of the Cameroon Human Rights, that's the Cameroon Youth Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa, and she is also a gender expert. Doctor, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Yannick.
Right, it's always a pleasure having you on board. She's putting on orange, I beg your pardon. Orange signifies raising voice, awareness, raising voice, activism. Beautiful, beautiful. Bright future. We're going to have much of that in the course of this program. We also have in the studio Madame Nina Valerie. She is a case manager at the Martin Luther King Memorial Foundation, LUCMEF. She's a gender expert as well. Thank you very much for joining us, Madam.
Thank you very much for having me here.
Right. Interesting one. Right, Dasa, we're grateful she's seen. And last but not the least, on our program tonight, we're having Hinda Anira. She is a journalist. She's also a communication expert when it comes to reporting cases of gender-based violence. I don't know if I introduced her so well.
You tried. At least you missed the humanitarian journalist and the GBV reporter.
GBV reporter.
Okay.
So it's a very good house to have this conversation tonight. I want to thank all of you for honoring our invitation tonight. And in the build-up to the 60 days activism that begins this Friday, the 25th of November, right up to the 10th of December 2022, we thought it wise to raise our voices and not the hands on countering gender-based violence. Let's start the program by getting ourselves abreast what gender-based is all about. Let's have this report.
Violence is a phenomenon deeply rooted in gender inequality and continues to be one of the most notable human rights violations within all societies. Gender-based violence is violence directed against a person because of their gender. Both women and men experience gender-based violence, but the majority of victims are women and girls. Gender-based violence targets and affects women and girls disproportionately around the globe. Approximately 1 in 3 women worldwide have experienced sexual as well as other forms of violence. Women are also much more likely than men to be killed by their intimate partners or family members. It is sad to mention that crimes involving violence against women are amongst the most underreported and the least likely to end in conviction. Perpetrators almost always end up working as free men in our societies. Survivors often face significant obstacles due to gaps in criminal laws and procedures, gender stereotypes, victim blaming, and inadequate responses of criminal justice institutions and professionals, just to name but these. All these leading to secondary victimization. We must collectively create spaces for GBV survivors to freely report and tell their stories.
Thank you very much. That's a kicker on the program tonight. And straight away we have this discussion starting. Let us understand what gender-based violence is all about. Doctor, put us into context. When we were talking about gender-based violence, what are we looking at?
Thank you, Yannick. Actually, gender-based violence is any harmful act directed towards a person because of the person's gender.
And usually it's rooted in gender inequality, abuse of power, because if you look at one of the root causes of gender-based violence, you realize that is power, the ability that one person believes that he or she has power over the other person, so he or she can do anything to influence or control the other person. And it's also rooted in our cultural norms and tradition, the way we're brought up, the way we're believed to know that that's how people should live, that's how people should act and all of that. So people grew up knowing that, and that's how they've always adopted it and are living. And when you look at gender-based violence, we have different forms of gender-based violence or different kinds of gender-based violence. The first is physical, which is very rampant today, like beatings, battery, and all of that. We find a lot of women reporting today that they're being beaten by their spouse. Some men also reporting that they're being beaten by their wives, although this is usually rare to get. We have verbal, which is more common because, you know, institutions are now working a lot on getting the physical proof of gender-based violence. So most people have moved from being physical to being more emotional. So you get a lot of verbal abuses and all of that, which has over time psychologically now been affecting a lot of people. And then we have socioeconomic. Most people, especially with the crisis, most people have lost their source of livelihood. They've lost their jobs and all of that, so they cannot fend for themselves. So it is either they're trying to survive and then they have to rely or depend on others, which usually dependency leads to either one person being frustrated over another because maybe you're asking a lot or something, or you cannot meet up with your needs and all of that. So it leads to that. And then you find also, for example, there are some spouses that refuse that their wives should not work, for example, that no, I don't want my wife to work, or I don't want my partner to work and all of that. So you stay in the house, there's nothing you can do. Meanwhile, you have the potential and the ability to go out and do something that you can fend for yourself, you take care of yourself and all of that. But you are not allowed to do that, and then you stay in the house, nobody provides for you and all of that. So that the frustration, it affects your psyche and all of that. So it's a lot. And there's also sexual, which is very rampant through rape. Yes, we hear a lot of children, young children especially, being raped today. There's incest, relatives raping their nieces and all of that. this is really common. Yes, it's really common today in our society, especially with the current crisis, with unaccompanied children on the streets and young girls who cannot go to school and all of that. Because when they go to school, at least there's that safe space that they can stay in school and yes. But when they are sent out maybe to hawk and all of that, they're exposed to different forms of violations. So yes, so they're exposed to all of that.
Interesting. Thank you very much, Doctor, for giving us or setting up a very good foundation for us to have this discussion. Now, when we talk about gender-based violence, Madam Nina, when we talk about gender-based violence in Cameroon, what's the present situation?
Okay, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. As a case manager, the present situation in Cameroon, as I can give, it's the high rate of sexual violence. The high rate of sexual violence has led a lot of women to be mentally unstable. Why? Because the crisis, in the context that we are in, it has pushed a lot of women to be dependent on others, and as they are being dependent on others, they are being violated. And they have this problem of not wanting to come out and really speak because they are afraid of stigmatization. They are afraid of the perpetrator. So they are trapped in that house because they don't have a livelihood. So they are trapped in that house with the essence that they are going to be fed in the house. So in the long run, it leads to a mental problems. It leads to mental, how can I put it? Psychological problems. So generally, from my own point of view and with the projects I've been working with and the women I've been meeting, they have this general problem of sexual violence, which degenerates to economic violence and leads to mental health problems.
Right.
Yes.
Interesting. Now, it would appear the COVID-19 pandemic and the ongoing socio-political crisis in the country have exacerbated gender-based violence in the northwest and the southwest region. You have been covering it and you have been recording the cases. Just put us to speed. What is actually happening?
Thank you, Yannick. I want to say you were very correct that because of the crisis and the COVID-19, it has really heightened. I think I started working with cases more because of this, because on the advent of this, I kept getting a lot of stories. Like every day you wake up, you hear 1-2-year-old has been raped. Every day you wake up, you hear a girl has been molested and all of that. So I personally, as a reporter, it's a great call for concern for me. And there are times that I get right into the scene and I have to mitigate. I have to see what to do and all of that, to connect to service providers like Lume for case managers and all of that, since I can meet. But I just want to say that with all of this that we are experiencing, generally, with all of this that we're experiencing as being heightened during this crisis period, I want to say that in my own judgment, I think that it is being weaponized. I would say that rape or sexual violence, especially or assault, is generally being weaponized during seasons of conflict, during seasons of war, during seasons of crisis or challenges. And I'll say people actually take it take advantage of the situation. I think that's the best way. Majority of people take advantage of the situation, while a handful of them take it as a way to defeat their opponents or to provoke their opponents and all of that. So some use it as a bait. So those are some of the reasons. And I think if I have to look at it in that lens, I would say yes, during crisis situation like what we experience in the COVID-19 and all of that, yes, there is supposed to be an increase in those gender-based violence activities. But then here is the thing, it mustn't, because we do have the power to control that. We do have the power to take that decision not to rape. We do have the power to take the decision not to assault someone. We do have all of that power to realize that women and girls are not supposed to be used as objects, as not supposed to be used as bait. We are not supposed to pour our angers on them when we go through challenges or whatever situation. I mean, and I think I'll trace it back far back from home before we look at the COVID-19 and before we look at and the socio-political crisis. I go back home. When a man comes back and is furious, maybe angered from work, maybe no food in the house, maybe something is not comfortable, what is the next thing he does? The only person who is available is the woman and the girl. And I will just say it with no apology to say that I think sex in itself is overrated. And you know, when someone goes through all the terrible situations that they're going through in their life, the next thing that they think after food, the next is that they should use sex to console themselves. Well, according to my discussion with a lot of men, it feels like it plays a lot on men, on the minds of men. But here's the thing: can we say yes, that is what it plays on you as a man? But can you know that consent is important, no matter the situation? If I'm talking to you, you're a soldier, consent is important. If you are a father in the house, consent is important. If whoever on the street, consent is important. And this is the way I rate it in my work as a GBV activist, or reporter, I should best put. I rate it in such a way that everyone that commits this act is identified as a rapist. Why am I dwelling so much? I know there are other forms of gender-based violence. Why am I dwelling so much on rape? I'm dwelling because it has been a culture. And if we do not talk about it, what is it going to be? We're going to have the rape culture. It's going to be normalized. It's going to be our way of life, and that is not what we need, because we will not start getting to the effect or the negative effects or the consequences of rape. So that is one of the things, the worst form of gender-based violence. That's why I'm laying a lot of emphasis on that. And I just mentioned that consent is important. And in the aspect of consent, there is something I want to say, because I took down these deeply. I noticed that in Cameroon, below the age of 18, you have no consent. That means yes means no. No matter what, maybe means no. Where or whatever, you know, it still means no.
As long as indecisive you are by law.
Absolutely by law. So if anyone above the age of 18 has a sexual affair or a sexual activity with any minor, we call them, less than the age of 18. What are the lady says yes, the girl says yeah, let me not call lady and we'll start you know. So no matter what, it is a no, and it is no. Even if the child gives a consent, it is considered rape.
Right.
So watch out. So if you are a drunk on the street, you've been influenced by alcohol and you are a rapist. If you are a father in the house and you rape a child who is not yours or your daughter, you are a rapist. If you're a soldier on the street and you rape a citizen, you are a rapist. If you are an employee, you harass or you rape an employee or employer, sorry, and you do whatever to an employee, you are all rapists.
Right. Interesting.
It sounds hard, but this is the moment where we need to amplify our voices.
Right.
Everyone from grassroots.
Right. Now, I want us to break these concepts down. It seems to be a lot in principle.
Okay.
Let's go down the grassroots. How does, or what are some of these cases of GBV that have been recorded in our society? One of the prominent ones that you know, which of course the viewers can learn from them. Just put us into context. How much some of these violent cases have been reported in this country in the past, and how bad the situation has been. Just put us into context.
I would say, picking up from where Inda stopped, I would say rape actually is one of the most prominent types of GBV recorded these days. Unfortunately, it is not reported because most people don't see it as rape.
Absolutely.
Yes. Take for example, intimate partner. In terms of intimate partners or spouse, most people don't think it's rape. You understand? So if the wife says no, I'm not willing or I don't want to, it means she's insubordinate. She's not submissive and all of that.
Submission gets in.
Yes, she's not submissive. It's your role to provide for or give your husband when he wants to. So you don't have any authority, you don't have any right to say no to your husband or no to your spouse. So that is the problem. So most of them do not see it as rape. So no matter how much you want to explain it to them, they are like, those are my rights, those are my duty. That's your duty as a wife to give me sex. You understand? Yes. And then we have this, I spoke about incest. Now we get stories of young children, 3 years, 2 years, 1 year, being raped by young men, by older men even. And what is the problem? They start giving justifications of why those younger girls are being raped. Oh, they were wearing short dresses. Oh, they exposed their boobs. Oh, they did this, they did that. Come on, there is no excuse for rape. So if we start giving justification that, okay, maybe a girl of 18 or a girl of 15 wore a short dress and you raped her, why was a child of 3 years raped? Was the child also wearing something very sexy that you could not resist? You understand? Because at the end of the day, we say it is all about having power, because you think that you have power over the person that you are trying to abuse. That is why you are able to. Because I keep asking, have you ever seen a man rape a woman that is far bigger or stronger than him? No. Because he knows that he can only do that on somebody that he can control. Yes, exactly. And then we have also the emotional type, because trust me, they say we because that's how they call it. They call us brainwashers. That we go out and we are brainwashing women, because we want to raise awareness on the need for them to speak out as far as GBV is concerned. So most men now know that immediately touch a woman and there's a scar, immediately that is physical is just clear proof that you violated that woman. So now they have shifted to being very, very, they use their mouths. So like, I will use my mouth, chase you out of this house. Yes. So they use words that kill your very own self-esteem. Yes, they will talk and talk until there are some women who walk like living corpse. Yes, you walk and you cannot recognize who you are, because a man has turned you into the, yes, he has worked on your psychology and he has made you in such a way that you cannot even recognize your own potentials. He makes you feel useless.
Shadow.
Yes. And it is vice versa. Even some women, because some women are like, okay, you have the strength to beat me, I will use my mouth. Yes. So you realize that power that we have within, that we can actually stand and actually fight or defend for ourselves, we are losing it because we have, they say, the power of the tongue. Yes. We've used the power of the tongue negatively, and it is now continuously instigating trauma and psychological problems on people. Yes.
Interesting. If you're just tuning in, you're onto Mountain Echoes, and we're talking about gender-based violence, how to counter gender-based violence, and the 60 days activism against gender-based violence is being activated across the world as GBV activists are raising awareness against violence against women and girls in 16 days activism. Now, let's look at the legal instruments that are present. Do you think that Cameroon has been able to enact laws to assist survivors of GBV cases?
Okay, thank you again for the opportunity. To the best of my knowledge, I think there has been an improvement.
Right.
Yes, because based on the cases I've been receiving and working with the other agencies, we have been able to put down some perpetrators, to the best of my knowledge, from some cases that we've been working with. The government has really been cooperating this time around. The government has come to an understanding that we really need to put an end to this evil called gender-based violence, especially towards the weaker vessel, the women and girls. So I've been working with a particular agency, which I will not really call the name right here, and we've been able to really handle some perpetrators, and they are behind bars, and I'm very, very excited about that.
Right. So yes. I want you to use this opportunity to tell, maybe there's somebody watching you who seem to have been abused in some form and is looking for an opportunity to your voice. How should they go about it?
Okay. Based on what we do as activists and as an organization, we raise our voices, we do sensitization, we involve women and girls in various communities, we inform them to always call out. We have our toll-free line numbers around the communities. They get to us, and immediately we get to them. Immediately we receive cases from them, we act on them immediately. We have even personal office numbers that have been spread around communities on our posters everywhere. There are times I receive calls from Bamenda, though I'm here in Buea. There are times I receive calls from Meme. Meme is large. I receive calls from that area. And we have offices around. We manage cases from diverse communities. And when we receive these cases like this, we encourage those who have opened up to tell us about the cases to tell others not to keep it. Recently, I was working with some women and I just had to inform them that let's not keep these cases because we feel like it's a family member that did it, as Dr. rightly said, that they are scared to come and report cases because it's a family issue, or as cultural norms, they have grown up and understood that if you do it, it's just normal. Women have been coming up, some few men have been coming up to also report their own cases. And we see into it and make sure that there is justice for the survivor or the victim who came up with the reporting, who came up to report the case. So to the best of my knowledge, I'm sure we are trying, and at the end of it, we'll actually kick out gender-based violence.
Right. Before I come to Hinda, now, as a case manager, how do you handle the survivors? It appears you do a lot with the perpetrators to the survivors. How do you handle the post-traumatic stress and all of those things?
Okay. Thank you very much. We also work with other agencies, so we have mental health specialists. We refer them there because we are not specialized. I, for example, I'm not a specialized mental health psychosocial support, so I refer to a mental health psychosocial support specialist who handles the case as well as I'm doing my follow-up.
Right.
Yes, I follow up why they are together. I follow up, how do you feel now when you've visited him or her? What do you think? And now the majority of them, because we have a goal, transforming a survivor from a victim to a survivor, from a survivor to an agent of change. So we have a lot of agents of change already. For example, today, a lot of them visited us and it was so wonderful. They could tell their beautiful stories of how support economically has helped them to be able to pay their children's school fees. I saw a smile on their faces and I was very, very happy.
Right.
I was very impressed.
Right. All right. So let's talk a bit about 60 days activism. What is it all about?
Okay, when we talk about the 16 days of activism, we're looking at a set of period, which is of course 16 days. That starts with from the 25th of November right down to the 10th of December. On the 25th of November, it's a day dedicated to eliminate all forms of violence against women and girls. While the 10th of December is the International Human Rights Day. So if you see in between those days, it's just to tell us that women's rights are human rights, and if you are violating a woman, you are actually violating her rights. So in between, how do we leverage? So that is how that came about, and it is it's just a global day. It's a global thing. It's an international thing where people all around the world amplify their voices, from media, from the level of march past to just a lot. So it happens like every year we do this, and the whole intention is to actually eliminate gender-based violence. We want to see where everyone understands that women and girls need equal opportunities and they need equal rights. Now, I want to lay emphasis on gender to let people know that when we talk about gender, we are not talking about women. We are talking about their societal, their social roles. We are talking about roles. We are talking about you as a man is involved, a woman is involved, a boy, a girl is involved. We talked about in our community in Cameroon, we don't look at the other genders like transgenders, homosexuality yet, but we are a people. So the whole affair is we are all humans. Irrespective of your sexual orientation, irrespective of your sex, we are all humans. So we should be treated fairly. We should be treated with equality, and we should have equal opportunities. I love that aspect of equal opportunities. Why am I saying lay emphasis on that? I'll bring us behind. I'll take us to answer the question that you asked her. You talked about some forms of gender-based violence and the most prevalent. Yes, we identify that the most prevalent happens to be the sexual assault or the rape. But I'll say that there are other ones that are getting right down into our fabrics, which is being buried in our cultural harmful traditional practices, as I always refer it. I love culture, is good, but those practices that we carry out that is detrimental, that is harmful to the people of that community community, of that culture, we need to take it away. I want to say lay emphasis on the age-old one, son preference. I don't know why I'm seeing this coming, but as a GBV reporter, I need to get into the root and pick out son preference. Now, I want to lay emphasis on son preference. So I'm deviating, but it's still part of the activism, yeah?
Right.
So I'm laying emphasis on son preference because, Yannick, if you see, when the woman gives birth and she has not given birth to a male child, it's like she has not given birth. And oh, everyone is agreeing. Okay. And if a man gets married to a woman, he can likely, one of the causes of divorce is the aspect of, you did not give me a male son. Look very well. When a woman gives birth to a male son, a male child, everyone, even the community is happy. The family is happy. Everyone, they celebrate. In some cases, they will give you good nutrition. They will take care of you. They will give you food. They will applaud you. But if you do not give birth to, the one that gives birth to a girl child, until women have seen, they have belittled themselves in such a way that when you give birth to a girl child, you will be like, oh, how I wish it was a boy. Son preference. And you know what it is with these son preference things? We are indirectly, or we are not even indirectly, let me not try to pet the situation. I mean, it's a thing of activity, we need to say as it is. What we are doing, honestly speaking, we are preparing a breeding ground for what? Gender-based violence.
Very true.
Clean and clear. That is what we are doing. When we take just that aspect of son preference, just the aspect of prioritizing a boy child, I want to say that gender-based violence started on women and girls as far as they were fetus, right in their mother's womb. I will say this in a very painful way. I had this guy wanted to get married to me, and he says, we're just discussing on the phone, and he says, our first child is going to be a boy. I say, well, what if it's a girl? It was, I mean, that's fun. And he said, if it's a girl, we'll abort it.
Hey, okay. That's interesting.
I'm like, what? Well, do you know we had to cut off that engagement just because of that statement?
Oh my
No matter
goodness.
how much his friends try to like, come on, what did you say? How can you say that because he's based in the US? And the friend echoed it and was like, what did you say? I screamed and my phone even felt like, what did you say? Say yes, he doesn't. I don't need a female child. I'm like, what are you trying to say? So, and then, I mean, just go and give birth go get pregnant with a man now, you know. So you see how bad it is. I love talking about gender-based violence from a personal perspective.
Right.
Very, very personal perspective. And that is it. So the whole aspect of son preference, this whole aspect of the male child being seen,
superior over the
thank
female
you.
child.
That is the breeding ground of it. That's the heart. And I think that is where the power imbalance comes. All we see.
That's the socialization process now.
Starts
Yeah,
from
because,
them.
because even from the time they'll be growing in the house, they'll be preferring.
I've not even gone to that part.
Yes,
Come
yes.
on.
The woman has to go to the kitchen to cook. She has to clean. She has to,
the boy needs to be playing
pertains to her
football.
productive role. Yes, the boy child has to go. So you now start allocating roles and responsibilities based on their gender.
So you think the tide should be changed? The woman should be given such preference more than the man?
What are we
Not
talking
giving
about?
such preference.
No,
Equal.
equal. We are talking of
opportunities.
equal opportunities. And we will live from the level of equality to equity.
Yes.
Where it's not just about the fact that it's equal, it's the fact that it is fair.
Fair, yes.
If I'm a male child in the house and I'm good at cleaning the plate, why will I not clean plates? And where will my sister, where will my sister, as a male child, will my sister not concentrate, right, to clear grass if that's what she's good at?
Right.
That's talking about fairness.
Interesting.
So you start getting, by the time you say young girl maybe cutting grass, they're like, why are you behaving like a boy? Why are you doing the activities that a boy should do? And that's how we carry it along, you understand? We carry it along and then we institute gender-based violence, because you realize that a young man gets married and he's like, no, when I was younger, my father was not doing this, but my mother was the one who was always doing this and all of that. So we've institutionalized it and we keep sustaining it from generation to generation. And
Right.
that's we keep saying that you started with your boy child and your girl child in the house. If we have to break this issue of gender-based violence. It should start from the younger generation.
Interesting.
And just to remind the viewers that on this particular edition of the 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence on Women and Girls, we are talking about to unite. It's all about let's unite activism to end violence on women and girls. So it's a collective effort of you and I, everyone. It's a collective effort. Let's come together and do this.
Uniting effort indeed. This is Mountain Echoes you're watching, and definitely you're getting quite a lot with respect to curbing gender-based violence in the society. Well, the panelists here are saying it's a men's world, but that can be changed because such mentality only breeds more gender-based violence against women and girls. Let us have this other video clip that expand our knowledge on gender-based violence. We'll be back after this break.
Are you a survivor of gender-based violence?
The Tertiary Sisters of St. Francis for the province of Cameroon gathered for their provincial assembly in the Laveno Spiritual Center in Bamenda. The assembly was aimed at carrying out a midterm evaluation of their activities in line with their charism and spirituality. Southwest Governor frowns at mayors who elect temporary residents out of their municipality. He calls on them to return to their council areas and develop them. Plus, fans of the Indomitable Lions are yet to come in terms with the shocking defeat of the squad by Switzerland in the debut at the ongoing FIFA World Cup in Qatar. Hello and good evening, I am Father Michael Njumo for presentation. These are top stories and the news will be yours in a bit. The Indomitable Lions of Cameroon have recorded their first defeat at the ongoing FIFA World Cup in Qatar. The Lions were beaten by 1-0 this afternoon. A goal from Brel Mbola sealed the fate of the Swiss side at the 46th minute of play. John-Philippe Wanla measured the temperature of Cameroonians and encountered them and has brought this following report.
What seemingly looked like an encounter tilting towards the direction of the Indomitable Lions ended up proving otherwise. The Lions crumbled their hopes of winning the much coveted trophy, losing 1-0 to Switzerland.
Proud of my national team. The Lions, they gave their best. Like, they played the first half very well. It's just that the second half they did not have a lot of chances, but they played very well. And I believe that in the next match they're going to be better.
Cameroonian-born Swiss midfielder Brel Mbolo scored the only goal of the game at the 46th minute, dashing the hopes of many Cameroonians who had nursed hopes of the Lions bringing up surprises on their debut encounter.
I've been seeing their impression, how they are putting their impression. Even Toko Ekambi, I know that they are going to make it for us and they are going to score. Chukwumotin is going to score and Toko Ekambi is also going to score. So that's the 2 goals for Cameroon and 1 for the Switzerland.
In spite of their encouraging play style in the first half of the encounter, the Lions failed to covet their chances to a goal in the net, which eventually exposed them at the second half when the Swiss squad seized their opportunity.
But that's place for the center box. That one supposed to be a penalty because the defenders put our attacker's leg on the floor. I blame him for the defeat.
Football pundits blamed the defeat on the coach's tactics and choices of players, which exposed the vulnerability of the squad, hence causing the defeat.
The strategy of the coach, I was not very happy with the fact that you take out Choupo-Moting and Kulu at once. I thought that given the attackers, Choupo-Moting and Toko Ekambi and Buemo, those were our main players. I thought, like a coach, he was going to use the three hours. If I were in his position, I will use Toko, I will use Choupo-Moting, and I will use Abubakar in the same place. When you take out Choupo-Moting and Toko Ekambi, then the team automatically collapses. So we were hoping that things are going to be better. Even though next match against Serbia, it's going to be very difficult, but we are still rallying behind the team as a nation.
While fans still hope the slogan "We go take that cup" still comes to fruition, the chances of Cameroon qualifying to the next round had increasingly become narrow, though nothing is left to chance. Impossible n'est pas les Camerounais.
Impossible n'est pas Camerounais. Winners of the Principal's Cup of St. Paul's College Bonjongo are now known. The finals of the cup were played on campus amidst fanfare that rounded up sporting activities that have been taking place for some time in the college. Marion Gevni covered the finals at the campus for DMR TV and now tells us in the following report.
It is sports o'clock in St. Paul's Higher Technical College, with the students gainfully occupying themselves in different disciplines, all in a bid to promote social cohesion.
Because of this event, these sporting activities organized by the principal enable the students to keep fit physical-wise, and as they keep fit physical-wise, it also enables them to fit in their classroom, because you cannot just be playing or studying without you playing. So the principal's intention by organizing this sporting exercise was also to bring the students together, because sporting activities bring students together. And I think the students did enjoy their competition.
From the old to the young, everyone was given the opportunity to showcase their talents in the beautiful game, while also putting a careful eye on the prize money.
By taking the competition, football is a hobby that I like, and I love playing football. It's a passion for me. I like play football to the much further, especially like I was happy and playing the competition students was not easy. Game the teaching, as we all know, football is like something collective. So even though we tried at the best, we still won. So that's what matters.
The athletes are also using this opportunity to get themselves ready for the national competitions, especially with the FENASCO games.
We discover talent from these students when I call them for sports. When they come out, at least I have good players. They can really present themselves, and we are really preparing for the FENASCO that is coming. I will believe with the full support of the principal and the bishop, we know at least we'll go a bit far.
After over 2 hours of spectacular sporting display, those who emerged victorious were awarded different trophies, while those who didn't make it had consolatory prizes.
To distract the children, because all learning without playing makes jacks a dull ball. That's why I think to me it was very important for me to launch the Principal Cup and to show, to let them have the seriousness about it, that they were not just playing for playing sake, but playing for something at the end.
The meritorious athletes shall jointly compete with their counterparts of other schools and colleges in the Bishops' Games scheduled for December 2022.
The Tertiary Sisters of St. Francis for the province of Cameroon gathered in Bamenda to have their provincial assembly at the spiritual center called La Verna. The assembly was aimed at carrying out a midterm evaluation of their activities and charism as a community. More insights with Reverend Father Alphonse Ekema.
Holy Spirit, melt us, Holy Spirit, melt us, amen.
Imploring help from God, the Tertiary Sisters of St. Francis embark on their midterm evaluation, since their leadership team is usually elected for a term of office of 6 years, and after the first 3 years, they converge at the provincial assembly to look at the activities of their lives and mission following the program of the provincial chapter. Taking part at the assembly are delegates chosen from different communities in the entire province, who are leaders of various commissions, while committee members are delegates by right of office. As a province of Tertiary Sisters of St. Francis in Cameroon, though working and living in different countries like Morocco, Nigeria, Central Africa, Congo and Italy, they share the enriching moments of life examination under various topics like formation, structures, charisms, spirituality, ministry and mission, social communication, justice and peace, as well as stewardship. As they conclude this phase of the mandate, they render immense gratitude to their sisters working in various areas who, according to their charism of reaching out to the underprivileged, bring smiles to the faces of many in ways sometimes not even known by the public.
Campaigns for the student election for the 2022-2023 school year at the Catholic University Institute of Buea, the Douala campus, have been launched. The campaigns were launched on Wednesday, November 23, 2023, under the supervision of Dr. Ngangum Eric, Vice President for General Administration. More on this with Tara Jarvis.
Fokwem Bradley, Ibwa Tina Kelly, Nkwenti Anthony are the three students that are running for the position of student government president at the Catholic University of Buea Douala campus. The three candidates had the opportunity to share their ideas to the entire campus on Wednesday, 23rd November 2022 during the official launch of campaigns and the first presidential debate under the auspices of the Vice President of General Administration, Dr. Ngangum Eric said. CUIB being a university that prepares professional servant leaders with spiritual and moral values who will contribute to the sustainable development of their communities, also gives students the opportunity to participate in leadership. This is done through the Afro-American model that the Catholic University of Buea is nurtured in which it organizes 2 presidential debates, 1 vice presidential debate for the candidate to share their ideas to the entire campus. 3 main candidates are representing the following parties: the Economy of Communion, led by Tina Kelly Ibwa, African Progress Alliance, Bradley Fokwem, and Center and Scholars Party, which is led by Nkwenti Anthony. The coordinator of student affairs during the official launch of the campaign, Madame Lipon Christel, told the students the modalities of campaigns, debate, and voting, which encouraged them to positively impact their friends.
Priests in the Diocese of Buea gathered and prayed for the repose of the soul of late Mama Aku Agatha, mother of Father Emily Kome, who passed away in Nigeria. This was during the day of sanctification at the Regina Pacis Cathedral, Sumosopo. More on this with Reverend Father Alphonse Ekema.
Following the earlier released communique of the Bishop of Buea to his priests, considering a date for the celebration of a mass for the late mother of Father Emily Kome, priests of the diocese who gathered with the bishop at the small Sopo Cathedral for the celebration of their day of sanctification celebrated the Holy Mass as a family in thanksgiving to God for her life.
Sitting beside our chief shepherd to pray as a family, to pray as a presbyterium. Almost everybody was there. It's a very good team spirit for the diocese.
Having missed the opportunity to lay to rest his biological mother for reasons beyond his control, Father Emily Kome is very grateful to God for the solidarity witnessed through the initiative of the bishop and his brother priest to give his mother the honor on the day of the sanctification of priests.
On a day like this, when we gather for the day of sanctification and that my brother priest joined in praying for the repose of our soul, I really feel relieved. I really feel encouraged. I really feel belonged, because I know that I'm not alone, and with with their prayers, I know that my mother also will rest in the bosom of the Lord.
On behalf of the Presbyterium, words of condolence are addressed to Father Emily Kome as the priest join him to pray for the eternal repose of the soul of his mother.
I want to, again, as a Presbyterium, give sincerely our condolences to Father Emily for the loss of his mother. We are with you, and we join with you in prayer going through, we pray that God will give you peace in mind and heart. And that Mama, who has gone ahead, will also be kind of support and blessing to your priestly ministry.
The passing away of a parent is a heavy blow contemplating the reality of their absence. Even as priests, this reality is to be faced with the grace of faith. Mama Ako Agatha passed away on September 23, 2022 in Nigeria. It is the prayer of all the priests who gathered to say the Mass for her that her soul may find a place in the bosom.
Stakeholders charged with the development of the Southwest region have been advised to double their efforts to restore normalcy in the region. The Governor Bernard Okalia-Bilial made this call recently in Limbe while evaluating the level of execution of the 2022 council budget in the region. Sharon Tita now tells the following report.
There is no gainsaying in the fact that most councils in the Southwest region operate far below their capacities despite voting fabulous budgets to run across the year. While much can be blamed on the present socio-political stalemate, the inertia of some mayors could also be attributed for the slow progress. In a bid to make an appraisal on the level of execution of the budgets earmarked for the year, the governor of the region is meeting with key stakeholders in the meeting held in Limbe.
We have high instruction from the minister. We allowed some senior citizens, some notables, some people within their community to give their opinion what has been done, and the SGO of FACO has redrawn and cancelled what was considered as irregular chiefdoms and irregular designations of chiefs. Now that file is over.
Governor Bernard Okalia-Bilial couldn't hide his feelings on mayors who have abandoned their municipalities and are operating in another town. He, however, appraised the collaboration of some traditional authorities who have worked closely with the administration to restore peace and normalcy in their area.
Down the chiefs are engaged with the administrative authority to fight insecurity. We want the chiefs who in FACO are established to continue to do their work, to collaborate. If there is any problem, let them go to their GOs, to their SGO to see what is the problem.
The governor called for greater productivity and collaboration among all stakeholders in order to restore the buoyant socio-economic activities of the region.
Any problem, let them go to their GOs, to their SGO to see what is the problem. The accusations have been examined and a solution has been brought. Now things are the SGO and his GOs under my supervision and the control of the government will continue to handle the issues of chieftaincy according to the laws of the Republic and the custom of the people.
The meeting is organized in the wake of the different councils planning to hold their different ordinary sessions to vote for the budget of the next fiscal year.
Thank you very much. This report brings us to the end of our newscast, but before we leave you, we leave you with our headlines. The Tertiary Sisters of St. Francis of the province of Cameroon gathered for the Provincial Assembly in the La Verna Spiritual Center in Bamenda. The assembly was aimed at carrying out a midterm evaluation of their activities in line with their charism and spirituality. Southwest Governor frowns at mayors who elect temporary residents out of their municipality. He calls on them to return to their council areas and to develop them. Plus, fans of the Indomitable Lions are yet to come to terms with the shocking defeat of the squad by Switzerland in their debut match at the ongoing FIFA World Cup in Qatar. Good evening, and we wish you the best of the evening, and we keep you in company with many other interesting programs on Divine Mercy Radio Television. I am your presenter, Reverend Father Michael Njumo. See you tomorrow. Bye.
accurate information about sexual and reproductive health and access to contraceptives. They may be ill-prepared for sex and unable to protect themselves from unintended pregnancies. Young people face an additional risk since family planning is controversial because sex is involved. Without accurate information and quality services, young people will not be able to determine their own destiny. Young people's beliefs and decisions about family planning are critical to their sexual and reproductive health rights. Too often, young people face obstacles that limit their access to modern contraceptive methods of their choices. Some of the largest barriers to contraceptives use include cultural norms about family planning, lack of financial resources, unavailability of stock, geographical barriers, and the absence of political will to make this a priority. Young people's unmet need for contraception is greater than that of any other age group.
Welcome back to the second part of our discussion. This is Mountain Echoes, and we're mainstreaming gender-based violence, looking at ways of countering gender-based violence in a society. This is in the wake of 60 days activism against gender-based violence that kicks off this Friday, the 10th of November, or I should say the 25th of November, right up to the 10th of December across the world. Well, gender-based activists will activate their awareness-raising spirits and would, of course, raise their voices against gender-based violence. And today's edition of the program, we're looking at the ways we can counter gender-based violence. And like you already know, I have three guests who are deep in the activism against gender-based violence in Cameroon. I have Dr. Fokum Violet. She is the Executive Director of the Center for Human Rights and Development in Africa, and also a gender expert. I have in the company Madam Hinda Anira, who is a humanitarian reporter, and I also have Madam Nina, who is also a case manager at the Martin Luther King Memorial Foundation, LUCMEF, in Cameroon. They are all giving us a firm understanding on gender-based violence. Now, when we took the short break, I noticed that somebody has sent a very interesting message, which I think we should take this message before we continue our discussion. Unfortunately, the message seems to have gone out. All right, let me take, they are quite a good number, but I wanted to take that one because it has some intriguing points that I think we should talk about. All right. It says, good evening, DMR TV, and thank you for the topic. I'm not comfortable with the discussion on the platform. It gives the impression gender-based violence is only about women and girls. Years ago, GBV was against women and the girl child. Today, the tides have reversed. With women's rights and children's rights, the mouths of men have been zipped. Today, women and children are beat up their husbands and fathers. Evidence is the rate of divorce cases we have around the world. Well, Why only GBV? There are also more violent cases, especially on men across the world. Why are you GBV activists only talking about the case of women and girls? Is it because you are women? Please be objective and say the truth with your conscience. Tell those women who hit their men, who psychologically traumatize their men to death. Tell those children who kill their fathers to also watch their guard, because that is GBV. And the person concludes by saying GBV also means protecting the rights of men. He who comes with equity comes with clean hands. It's coming from St. Albert the Great.
Wow.
From Bulu here in Boya.
Before you give the ball to us, let me even clap for. He did well.
All right.
He did well.
Okay, you want to give him a round of applause?
Yeah, I want to congratulate. I want to say I love that.
Tell us why.
So much. It's a whole bold step that he's taking, and I love.
Right.
And I want to tell you, he said St. Albert or okay.
St. Albert the Great from Bulu here in Boya.
Okay. The first thing I want to deconstruct right away is that please, we mentioned from the start of this program that when we talk about gender, we are looking at everyone. We are not looking at just the sex, that women and girls. And I don't want to go to the fact that, yes, we should talk about women and girls now because we are talking about 16 days of activism. But let me clear off something. You are very correct that men to go through gender-based violence. Excellent. Yes, no one has disputed that. If you get all our conversation, you will see that it was men were being mainstream into it. But this focus for today, or for the 16 days of activism, is for women and girls. And men go through gender-based violence, but it will interest you to know that women go through that more. 97% of women go through gender-based violence compared to men. Right. The reason why we should amplify, we should support and elevate these women. And you talk about children. Yes, of course, children too go through gender-based violence. We don't want to lay emphasis on the girl child. In fact, that is just a lot. Dr. Foko, I'm getting too emotional to say something.
Right.
Sorry, Yannick, I'm taking your place.
Right. No, that's fine.
Wait.
That's fine.
If you follow my definition, I said any harmful act committed against anybody because of the person's gender. And the gender is either a man or a woman.
His concern has been about the emphasis on women and girls.
The truth is, women have always been like an added onto. You understand? It seems we are always bringing women to add to where men were already. And that's why you find us giving more emphasis on women. Secondly, if you look at the rate of violence in the community, whether I would like it or not, it is more on the women and the girls than the men. Right. You understand? Let's look at our culture. You understand? The culture gives preference to who? She spoke about preference. The culture gives preference to the man. The man is seen as the head of the house. The man is seen as the sole breadwinner. The man is seen as high and mighty authority. You understand? And no matter how much the gender roles keep changing, they still want to maintain that stereotype. You understand? And exactly. And you find that the effect now starts falling on the woman. We change with time. We don't want to change our mentalities as we go with time. So that's why you see us focusing on the women. And thirdly, most men do not want to talk about the fact that they are being abused.
How we know?
Do we know that they are being abused? If we have maybe 30 reported cases of GBV, over maybe 29 they are women, and just one man. And then even when the man comes out to report, the friends are laughing at him. What kind of man are you? That means you go out and you accept openly that a woman will beat you up. Come on, we are talking about trying to solve the problem of gender-based violence, right? So if we were saying that speak out, it should be both men and women speaking out. And you remember I spoke about the root cause being the ability of somebody using his or her power over another person. Look at the cultural context in which we function. Look at the home. Who has power over who? You understand? Yes, we have homes that the woman now start exerting power over the man, and then she starts using her authority. But the cases are limited. The cases are limited. I also, when I quoted the number of verbal violence, I mentioned women also, that a lot of women now use their mouth. They say the power of the tongue. They said, I don't have the strength to beat you, but I will use my mouth to make you useless. It goes both ways.
So, have you been having cases of, well, you mentioned that men reporting cases of gender-based violence against them. When such cases come, how do you handle them? Because oftentimes it becomes societal mockery that a man is weakly coming to report about a woman lording over them psychologically or physically. So when you have such cases, how do you handle them?
Yannick, the first thing I'll always say about a man, I'll always tell them, speak up. It's okay to cry.
Exactly.
You are human, for God's sake. And if your emotion needs to be expressed, your tears dropping, kindly do that. If your emotion needs to, I personally do not discriminate discriminate a man that I see him performing things that women do. I have a friend of mine, he cooks and gives me. Shockingly, I have like 2 friends that guys, they are good at cooking, and I'm very comfortable when I meet them and ask them that I'm hungry. And they are very comfortable asking me if I'm hungry. I don't discriminate. How can you be a man and then you get? I don't do that. So I personally understand that. And I'll also be very serious to tell you that in my entire life, I've received just 1 case of gender-based violence coming from a man. Unfortunately, but I cannot count the number of ones I've received from a woman. Now, we are not going to identify much of the reason why men do not report cases. Well, that should be their bone of contention. If you're going through a pain, you want to stay in it, who will know? But we're going to address that in a different day. We're going to have a topic. I think we'll have a topic where we'll talk about men and gender-based violence, but let's let that slide. So I received just 1 case for my entire life for a man who told me, and I feel pity, and I struggled as a person to support. He said where he was younger, he had sexual abuse from the auntie. He was younger. So if you want to look at especially the aspect of sexual assault on men, it is when they are underage and an elderly or an aged person commits that. But in real sense, when they are all grown to maturity, where is my strength to, let me say I want to rape you now, for example. Let's be realistic. This person says I should be realistic and I want to be realistic. Where is the strength to hold you? It's just an example. But you have
women do sexually harass men.
We are not refusing.
Other kinds of harassment.
You are correct. But yes. I'm saying that the cases are limited.
Right.
And
are you saying the reported cases are limited?
The reported cases and in the reality cases too. I'm just saying the truth. The reality cases, if we look at generally with our physical eyes, look at the root causes of gender-based violence, you will see that we are in a society that is predominated by men, and that is one of the root causes. If you look at all of the root causes of gender-based violence, because we cannot start talking about gender-based violence struggling to solve a problem when we have not gone to the root. When we look at all the root causes, a greater percentage in our own physical eye, in our own understanding, shows that it is the man who holds that power to exercise that. And we will talk about poverty as one of it. How many women compared to men live in poverty? When we want to look at the abuse of power, how many women are imposed in terms of physical power or in terms of authority? There are a lot. We want to go even at the level of the workplace. How many women are integrated in the workplace system than men? If we want to go to the aspect of technology, how many women are integrated? But we go to the farm, we will meet a lot of women that are integrated in the farm. So you see where they are. And you see the fact that they are there as you're going there on the way to farm. How many women have reported cases of rape, of attempted rape? Even me, when I was younger, going to the farm, I was almost raped. How many women have reported those cases? I'm just trying to, time is short for us to express all of this. You see, when we go about, it says I should be real, and I'm real. When we talk about breast ironing as one of the traditional harmful practices, which men's breast is being when we talked about marital rights, and there was a guy that wanted to get married to me, and they told me, according to their tradition, when you are getting married as a new wife, you shave your hair. They rub all your body, and you need. It is a beautiful culture. It's lovable, but me, I get it. Just imagine, they take you to the river. They have a river. They will bathe you there. All the old women naked. They clean up all your pubic region, everything. They do all of that. That is your culture. I don't see where a man wants to get married or ask you to go and do those things. You are not part of the culture. In addition to that, you don't carry any of your, even one dress to the man's house. You go empty. It is a thing of a pride. We are not refusing to them that you're prepared, you are coming as virgin, as new, whatever their reasons are. which is beautiful, but then it's obstructing your own personal consent. It's obstructing your freedom of choice, your freedom of speech. You don't like long hair. What is happening? They must. Let's look at, is it the Iranian women, I think 2 weeks or 1 week ago, that they're rioting. You do not wear, you must be on scarf throughout. The hijab throughout. And the riot was, we were talking about, is it in the Amini, or I think the lady that was killed. Why? Because she appeared in public without her scarf and she was killed. People will not feel it and decide to want to fifi and leave your hair. You get, so that who takes, how many men freedom of speech have been taken or freedom of choices have been taken? Let's be realistic. Let's move to the aspect of mourning. I know when we go, you know this, in some tribes they call it mukusa or something. How many men have you seen go through the thing that they will shave out the bottle, they will lock you inside a room? Which one should I say? Which one should I say?
Eat in the plate, in
a leaf. Which one? Which one?
Sleeping on the floor.
Sleep on the floor. Yes. How many
Isolated.
What should I say? There is also more. There is also this culture that it is Africa. It's not Botswana, it's one African country. If you see the way they prick your lips with one thing they put as you get to show that you have age, reproductive age. You see pain, they tear your lips like that and they put one big thing. So the bigger it is, the more you show that you are ripe for marriage. And you know, all of those things. He laughs.
The Maasai region.
Thank
the
you.
Maasai region in Kenya.
Just kidding. And they say it's a thing of beauty, it's a thing to inform that you're of age to get married.
They put the dicks. They put the dicks in your lip.
No,
I've seen it.
It's very big.
Yes, the big dicks.
Okay, they call it
the dicks.
Yes, thank you, dicks. Okay, I heard something else. So, I mean, just look at, if you look at all of these things that I am putting up, tell me how many of it affects a man. I love men, please. Men should not feel like we do not love them. Sure. And this thing of gender-based violence is not a fight against a man and a woman. It is a collective effort. It's an effort for all of us to work hand in gloves to have a better world.
Right.
A man needs a woman.
Right.
A woman needs to be seen beyond her reproductive roles. Isn't it? We too, are women not taking the bait? Are women not in technology doing things? Are women not? Don't we also have our own mind to also bring something? Let's look at creation. God created everyone with potentials. He did not discriminate if you're a male or female. So why should we as humans now want to deprive another human of them living up to their fullest potential and expressing themselves? When we talk about equal rights is not about getting to the marital status where you are big, you are not the head or the man is no. Is it every man that will get married? So let's forget about marital status. What if we are living in a society? Why should I not have the opportunity, if I'm smart enough, why should I not have an opportunity to work in a tech company as you are working as a man? Why should I not have the right to also to make my own decisions from my sexuality? Why should I not decide the number of children that I want to have per time? Why should I not tell myself that, hey, this is the family planning method I want to take? Why should I not have the right to my sexuality? Why should my sexual and reproductive right be tempered? Why? Because I am a woman. Who does that to a man?
Right.
It's a free and fair society. Everyone needs to come and enjoy, live, express themselves, hold our hands together, male and female, boy and girls, and enjoy life.
Right.
Isn't it?
It is.
So it is not a fight. It is 16 days of activism. It's a time for you watching to join. It's a time for the boy to join, a time for the girl to join, to give equal place for each and every human being. We are human.
Right.
I don't know if I'm correct.
You're definitely correct.
Thank you.
You're definitely correct. Let's have some discussion. He ended up by saying he who wants equity comes with clean hands.
Perfect.
We're talking about cultural, and there are some cultural constructs that you said discriminate the woman over the man. Should we say that to deconstruct some of these activities, cultural barriers, myths and all of that, should start from the very root of women somehow being sold to a man?
Okay.
Should bride price really start from that aspect? Well, I think, Doctor, let's have some interaction. I know you're a communicator, you have a lot of insight to say. Let's start with Doctor. Do you think that you should start advocating for a woman not to I mean, this culture of a woman being given to a man on the platter of silver and some coins and all of that, so that the woman gets as much full right as the man as she enters into the marriage?
Sure, I think a lot of unlearning has to be done. I remember I did the training some 2 weeks ago, and I was like, times are evolving and we must evolve with time, because like it or not, men are no longer breadwinners. Sure. Like, you know, not a lot of gender roles are changing. So one of the participants raised his hand and he was like, okay, why is bride price not also changing? Yes. So I think it is high time our parents also start thinking of different ways of giving forth their girls into marriage. Yes, rather than selling them off. Because trust me, if you want to assess some of the root causes of maybe violence, it's like, I bought you. Yes, you are my property. So I can do anything I want to do with you because you are my property. Some women are being sold, I call it sold, because it's like for 2 million, 3 million. Right? Yes, that's what some men are asked for as bride price. So when you start giving for, they say, okay, I've sponsored my child from this level to this level. So I think we need a lot of unlearning.
Thank you.
Let's change. Yes, let's change our mentalities as far as bride price is concerned. Maybe yes, we have African culture that is so good, like you say. Yes, so but there are other ways in which we can respect or continue practicing that culture without necessarily abusing the rights of another person. Because trust me, that girl goes into that house and she's continuously abused, but she's not eat the franc. Those who eat the money are enjoying.
Right.
Yes.
And if we go to the deep root of where bride price comes from, it comes from the Bible, and it states token.
Token, yes.
And when someone says a token, means you have so much and you're picking a bit and giving. It's a token. So we are the humans that have put our own greedy aspect into it to make it exaggerated. And in my African culture that I know, especially my culture, it's said that a woman's bride price never gets finished. You understand? And the bride price of both families, it's the contribution of you and the person. A token is just that you actually bearing your name. There are a lot of things that we cannot remove from our African culture. I love culture, don't get me wrong, but there's a way that we can put it that a man doesn't feel like, okay, this is my property. The aspect of bride price, there's nothing wrong with a man dropping. In my tribe, I remember back then, it token meant 10,000 francs. Okay, that is what it meant. They kept it at 10,000 francs. It is at your discretion as a man to do as much as you want.
Yes,
it's at your discretion as it.
But today, some families actually they like,
if it's not 500,000,
no, it's 5 million. Okay, I have 4 million. You know, it's like you're buying the good.
Bargain.
Yes, there's a lot of bargaining and all. It's like you're buying the good.
And we women should start. Nobody does that to any of my daughters.
Exactly.
You don't. Thank you. We don't. And I'm so happy that.
So you're going to give your daughter just like that to a man?
What is
going against cultural norms?
If you want to call it that I'm giving just like that, is yes, just like that. That is what you want to call. That is what you want to identify. I don't know what just like that means.
To empower your daughter.
No.
Or there could be some time when women will actually pay for a man.
If a man will agree,
to pay for a man
but there is a place it can happen. But I'm asking that if it is not possible, let me say something. If a man says if the family says bride price for this woman is 500,000 francs, and there are other things, it's not just a bride price that they give now. There is something that happens. People need to sit and eat. People need to sit and decorate. Okay, what if the whole thing about our wedding plus the bride price is 500, is 1 million, let me say, and you and the woman sit together and the family, okay, you decide, this is what I will bring. The woman said, this is what I'll bring. You put together. It's not about the fact that now we differentiate this one. Okay, bride price is all 500,000 that they said I will pay for you. Okay, catering and all other things is 500,000. We put it together, meaning that for our wedding to be successful, me and you, the man and the woman, for our wedding to be successful is 1 million. It's about your potential. There are women who have money more than men who say, okay, out of that 1 million, I have 700,000 to bring forth for our wedding to be successful. The man say, okay, I have 300,000. In other aspect, the woman says, I have just 500. The man say, I have 1.5. I have 900 or 100,000. Now, it's not being seen as the fact that you are using it to buy the woman. So all of those things, like you say, unlearn, relearn, and learn. We have to start working on our psychology. You have to look at, if we must keep the bride price, there, first thing, it should not be exaggerated. The next thing is, if it must be there, we should reason it as it is part of the requirement for us to be together forever. Not
collective
like
action.
You should not, because tomorrow you will not go and say the drinks that you bought for XYZ to drink was my property. No, it was part of the, you get this. So you get, we have to get to that culture, that mindset, and it's all about this activity. It's all about changing the narrative, changing our mind. That's just about it.
Right. And that is the reason why in the process of divorce, the woman is obliged to return the bride price to the man.
Oh, really? Really?
Right.
Something that she
of
did
course,
not
that's
do.
tradition. She's obliged. Otherwise,
and he's saying this thing. He's saying
those are the traditional norms that you are all saying that there should be some destructive reconstruction.
If they return the bride price, who returns the drinks? Who returns the drinks and all the shopping and all of that?
Ask your traditional culture. Ask your culture what is it. But that's the African norm.
Okay.
In case of any divorce, the woman is supposed to return the bride price to break the traditional bond. Otherwise, you still remain the property of the man.
Yes, I agree. You're very correct.
Right.
You're very correct.
So if the woman is supposed to return the bride price, what happens to the properties that they have acquired, both of them?
Well, that is for the legal aspect. We're talking about the traditional aspect. So the legal aspect, the court will take care of the division of your property and all the like.
But according to tradition, you must return, or you are still his wife.
Yeah, of course. And any child you get out of him will still be the property of the man by law. Now,
by traditional law.
Let's talk about the way forward. Let's look at the role of the media in mainstreaming gender-based violence in the country. Has the media been able to showcase issues of gender-based violence so much, or you think there are things that the media should be doing?
The propaganda.
To the best of my knowledge, the media has been doing its best.
Right.
When we talk about the media, we have different mediums.
Right.
We have the social media, we have the television, we have the radio, TV, Twitter, Instagram. The social media has been able to spread the gospel
and raise the bar.
Violence. And I believe everyone who is in possession of an Android phone, let me not say everyone, because it's not everybody that really goes into trying to know what gender-based violence is all about and even want to advocate against it. So the media is doing its own best, and we are there as activists to keep on activating or advocating for gender-based violence through media.
I think if I should add, apart from the fact that the media is doing a lot of awareness, we now see a lot of skits on GBV and all of that, but there's one other aspect: mainstreaming communication.
Right.
Media reinforces a lot of stereotypes. A lot. Yes. So there's still, you read reports that they still allocate certain roles, start changing, like we said, changing the stereotypes, that trying to deconstruct that socialization that we already know that is a man that's supposed to do. I think one of the training I said, okay, maybe the year an ambassador nurses, they are women. You understand? So we still try to relegate the woman to certain reproductive roles. Come on. Reproductive roles, come on. This is 21st century. Right. Women are in all the sectors. And then when you find a woman who is proactive, assertive, what kind of man that yes, woman, and all of that you get. So I think we also have to gender responsive communication. Start avoiding reinforcing some of the stereotypes that we are trying to deconstruct. Yes, it's necessary.
Very necessary.
Yes.
So you think that the media has a lot to play in this?
Yes, of course, Yannick. The media does have a role. There is a power in the media, and there is responsibility, and those responsibility comes with power. And to me, I would say that is what the media should think. The media always say should be the very first advocate. They should be. I want to applaud the media generally for the great job you're doing, but I think there are still some loopholes that need to be addressed when it comes to communicating or reporting cases and stories of gender-based violence. It always comes with the infiltration. It always comes with a biased mind and something. And I think I'm linking it with what Doctor just said. We as media practitioners need to say the story the way it is. And the way that it is sensitive. We need to understand the right choices of words. We need to know, before you report, you need to educate yourself as a reporter on the technicalities, the words that is being used that actually identify. You might have a very good report, but you keep writing about one girl was raped, that victim.
Exactly.
When we are translating from survivors to change, agents of change, like she rightly said. So we look at all of that, we know that generally the media is still about, it's not all, it has not really measured up when it comes to reporting stories and cases of gender-based violence. That is the angle in which I'm looking at. And we're interested to know that in this, my work for this 2022 edition of the 16th Day of Activism, it is tilted about the media, the role of the media in gender-based violence. You know, so the media should mainstream gender-based violence issues in all their programs, even at the level of employment. I don't even want to go there. So I remember there was one time a TV station was looking for a broadcaster, and the female broadcaster applied, and they were like, no, they don't want. So you see the aspect of gender too inside being played even at the workplace. And we, the media, are not supposed to be the people to do that. We are supposed to be the people of equality and equal opportunity. Thank you. We are supposed to be those persons to drive that agenda of eradicating gender-based violence in our communities. It lies in our hands, truly. And I will not tell you the lie. The media has been at the forefront of instead pushing this agenda with the way they report cases. My consent is the way they report the cases. It is about who blows the news first. Bam. Who came and said a 2-year-old girl has been raped. The media is running, filming all. They don't care about the person's personality. It is not, pictures are not blurred and all of that. That is it. I've seen it severally. There are some I go behind and like, no, please, Blair. The case that happened in Moliko, it was, why should the media, you know, we're talking about media, we're looking about mass media generally, apart from TV. Why should you show that and show a survivor's face and all of that? Please, perpetrators could be exposed and even, you know, dragged on the street, and who cares? I mean, they should be pointed, so you should, you know.
Coming to that, sorry for cutting you short. Coming to that, I realized that the media, actually, it exposes the survivor and hides the perpetrators. Meanwhile, they're supposed to expose the perpetrators so that everybody should know that this particular person is somebody that is wanted and is somebody that we should be aware of. Instead, they expose the survivors and they hide the perpetrators.
I don't know what they're thinking, that they want to this community to gain sympathy, but when we talk about survivors, we are looking at empathy and not sympathy. Yes. You know, and you are showing that image of that person as a media. What about tomorrow? How will the person walk through the street and all of that?
So if that person were your sister or your brother, would you show that?
We see the recent one that happened in this African country, and I later heard allegedly that they committed suicide. I guess just imagine, but that is the aspect of social media.
Yeah.
That is it. So each and everyone has that responsibility. If we are being cautious with television and TV stations or newspaper in their reporting cases of gender-based violence, we are looking at the people with smartphones who have used it to instead propagate gender-based violence survivors to blame themselves, to be stigmatized and all of that. So we see that when it comes to gender-based violence, it's a collective role. And when we're talking about the role of the media, it's for each and everyone out there. If you have a smartphone, what are the images that you send?
Yeah.
When it comes to gender-based violence.
That's really interesting.
So a lot of work needs to be done when it comes to the media reporting gender-based violence cases.
Mainstreaming gender-based violence cases, very important. So what are the activities that will be animating this year's 16 days activism? You're talking about the theme being united, unity and all of that. Doctor, put us into context. What would be happening this time around, this year?
as per my organization.
Generally.
I think generally.
What's the call to action this year?
I think with the theme Unite, I think it's high time CSOs who are working around issues of gender-based violence come together and take actions. Be it a capacity building workshop, be it sensitization, be it march, be it talks, be it empowerment schemes, whatever they can do to ensure that women and men can speak out and work together to reduce the rate of violence. Because it's annoying, Yannick, because you see the rate of work that is being done on the field as far as gender-based violence is concerned, but every other day it seems the statistics keeps increasing instead of reducing. So it's like we are on the same spot or we are not doing anything. So I think it's yes, and things that I think it is also time us as CSOs, because I see instead of putting our resources together and trying to ensure that maybe we work with others to ensure that we are instead competing amongst ourselves. So you find repeated same action being done by so many people. Yes. So why
people want to do it from their different angles?
Yes.
Right.
Why can't we come together and then put
and harness your
and we see that okay, if this person is handling this, maybe I start from where the person ends. So that it's a whole package. Yes, it's a whole package.
Interesting. Right. So you want to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to add to the question you just asked. Like the theme for this year is Unite, activism to end gender-based violence against women and girls. I believe that if we involve more men into speaking for women, then we are gradually going to be getting closer to reducing, because most men are always complaining that we focus more on the women. For example, what St. Peter said, St. Albert said, he was saying it that we should come with equity. He that comes with equity comes with a pure heart, a clean heart. When we are talking about equity here, we are not focusing on one gender. So we should involve the men should come up and talk for women. They should come up and talk for the younger generation. They should come up and be the first people to change. Because when they keep hearing the woman's own perspective, then they will come to understand that the woman is not fighting against them. The woman is not out to raise shoulders with the man. The woman is just out to let the man know that the same potentials you have in doing that, I can also do it. I'm not out to fight with you. I'm just out to tell you that if I can do this and you are doing that, together we bring the resources into the house will be a better place for us all to stay. Right. Same as my Hinda was saying, if a man can wash plates, if a man can cook, it will also help the woman to rest, right? They are not gender rules. It's not like it's only the woman that has to come back and clean the plates, come back and heat the food, come back and make sure there is food in the house to eat. No. If the man comes back before the woman, you go do those things, and when the woman comes back, she will also feel relief, and the home will be, we have to start from our homes before we come to the communities, and then we get to the society, and then we get to the country at large, and even the world. So if you don't start from that level, then it's going to be difficult. First, the man has to listen to the woman. I'm not like, when I say listen to the woman, you just listen to every trash the woman is saying, because there's some women who will really say trash. But listen to her ideas and try to chip into it. You'll see that development will come out of it. A lot of women are, based on our context, they are not economically empowered. Viable. They are not economically vibrant, thank you very much. And it makes the society not to be developed. So what I really want to say as per the team is that we, men and boys, should unite and listen to women and raise their voices to say no to gender-based violence. Wow,
interesting indeed. Now, last but not the least, we're looking a lot about gender-based violence against women and girls, and also the violence against men on women and all of that. What about women against women? Lately, we've seen a lot of women violating the rights of other women. Some shaving the hair of women, others beating them in the streets, and all of these. When you have such cases, how do you handle them? Two women that you're trying to protect them are indulging themselves in violating their own rights.
That's human
rights. How do you
rights.
do that?
That's a whole. That's not.
That's true. And you forgot maybe a woman had and her nanny, her babysitter at house. It's really common. So usually what we do is first there's this issue of consent, because and then the ability for them to speak out, because no matter how much you hear the story, you must first seek their consent, and then they should be ready to talk with you.
Right.
Yes, because if they are not, you certainly can't.
So there's no perpetrator and survivor in that case.
There is.
Please, I want to.
How do you handle them? Because there is a perpetrator against a survivor.
There is, but usually,
you prosecute them the same way you do
it. Usually, you know, the survivor must be able to say her story, because if she doesn't, then you can't. And it goes both ways, because that's another thing I wanted to tell you, and which is one of the main challenges that we are facing as far as gender-based violence is concerned. Because a lot of women, even when they speak out, it's premature. Because they come, they report, you said, okay, can I summon your partner? Let's have a dialogue. No, he'll beat me, he'll shout, he'll get worse and all of that. And then maybe you convince her to the extent of getting a spouse on board. It gets to a certain stage, you're like, just leave it here. You understand? Yes. So you must get the person to talk. Yes.
Right.
I really want to say that that particular case of that women, to me, I didn't count it as gender-based violence issue.
Right.
That is a human right issue, and not a it's not a gender issue.
Right.
It's a human right issue.
Right.
Yeah, we are saying that we are celebrating the 16 days of activism. We start on the 25th of November that eliminates violence of women and girls and gets across to the International Human Rights Day, because all of those violations, every gender-based violation is a violation of human rights. But not every human rights violation is gender-based violence. Let's get the difference. So that women to women is not gender-based violence. It's human rights violations.
Thank you very much. We can't handle everything in one day. I want to thank you, ladies, for coming. We're so grateful for your input. Quite huge. And considering that we're entering into the 16 days activism, we're going to have these conversations again. And maybe, perhaps, you started off by revealing some of your secrets, so it means you are a survivor, and you decided to come on stage to talk about
she's an agent of change.
She's
an agent of change.
I've translated from a
survivor to agent.
I'm not ashamed to be a survivor. Yes, I've been raped before, and I've experienced a lot of different forms of gender-based violence. But I've come out of it, and that is the reason why I started talking. Even someone always asks me, why are you always on gender-based violence? Why not